right, Sam Bakhtiar, I'm so excited to have you on. Thank you so much for being on the show. You and I spoke a few times before, and we were talking about how you've gone through a lot of stuff, and I've heard a few things, and I want to get into, the very beginning, where you were born, where you were raised, and just kind of start from there, your childhood.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, man, I want to congratulate you on your show. And I think that you're doing so much amazing things, and it's an honor and privilege to be on your show. So thanks for coming over and interviewing me. As far as my story is concerned, man, gosh, I mean, where do I begin? I was born in Tehran, Iran. I was born in 1973. I don't care. I'm 46 years old, and I remember that I remember a little bit about my dad. But my dad and my mom got divorced when I was 3. And as soon as the war started in Iran, they got divorced. My dad flew to Canada. And I never saw him again after that. So, so I didn't know anything about having a father. I just have vague memories of him, but not much. And I grew up without a dad with a single mom. My mom was a powerhouse. Kind of like you, a single mom that's doing everything, just doing everything, being a great mom, great provider, a great hustler. She worked really hard, and she did the best that she could, with me. And she provided me the best life that she could. She really put it all online, and I, salute any woman that can do that. All the single women out there that are just absolutely, going out there. They're just not looking for a paycheck or, looking for welfare support and like that. Going out there and making it happen. I have so much respect for that. That's why I have respect for you. You know what I mean? So you're going out there doing it. But I remember from age 3 to 11, we were at war, and I was hearing bombs every night. Every night you have a rolling blackout of the city. You heard sirens, and all you heard was boom, boom, boom. Either bombs were coming down or anti-air missiles were going up. And at that age, I didn't know anything better. I remember everybody saying, hey, run to the basement, run in the basement, go hide underneath the stairs, and that's what we did. But if you look in the sky, it looks like fireworks. It looked like Disneyland fireworks, but it wasn't Disneyland. It was war. It was serious war. And when I was 11 years old, my mom was like, you know what? I don't want my only son to get drafted, because at 12 they were drafting you to go to the military and die. So we escaped the country with $500, one luggage, and we came to France as refugees of war. And when we were there for France for about a year, and then we came to the United States as refugees of war. Now, even on my green card, if you look at my green card, man, God, it looks like I'm fresh off the boat. You look at it, I got sideburns out there. I got a bowl haircut, man. You look at it, it's the funniest thing ever, man. Everybody makes fun of me, but you're fresh off the boat. We came to America. When I was coming to America, Kayla, and you're too young to know about these shows, but back the shows, back when I was a kid, there were shows called Dallas, Dynasty, and the A-Team, and those were like the Kardashians of today. Everybody watched Dallas and Dynasty. It was a reality TV back then, but it was like, TV series, and everybody, they're living in Beverly Hills or they're living in Dallas. Everybody has Cadillacs and Bentleys and swimming pools and mansions. And so I thought of, from America, you hear America, you think everybody has, mansions and Cadillacs and Bentleys, Well,
when they think of America, they think of just straight Hollywood. That's it. That's all they think about.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
You 100%. I thought I was going to come into Beverly Hills. So my mom we only had one relative here, which was my uncle, my mom's brother, and he went to Youngstown State University. I didn't know what that was, So when we flew to America, he picked us up at the Pittsburgh airport and drove us to a little town he lived in called Sharon, Pennsylvania. Now, Sharon is a little town with a population of about 20,000. To this day, the average income of a household is, I think, like 18 to 20,000. Household income, combined household income. And it's a very rundown old steel mill town. that all the steel mills closed, and 1985 was the middle of crack cocaine epidemic. So many people were on drugs, and and my uncle did what most Middle Easterns do when they come to America. He was an entrepreneur, so he had a convenience store in the hood. Like a typical 7-Eleven, but it wasn't 7-Eleven, it was his own brand in the hood. And what I mean in the hood is the roads were bricked. They weren't even paved. There were signs outside that says no loitering. You can't even walk around on the street, you'll get picked up. And literally outside of the...
When you say picked up
by the police.
Cops.
By the police.
Oh, if you hang out too long.
Yeah.
Okay.
And when you were outside, you go outside of you see pimps, prostitutes, drug dealers, people, smoking crack. I saw it all. Yeah. And that was my first impression of America. I was like, holy shit, abandoned buildings, brick roads, and I was in the middle of the hood, so it was predominantly black neighborhood that my uncle's store was. And the funny thing, where we lived with him for a few years, was total opposite side of town, which was the redneck part of the neighborhood. And matter of fact, I shot a documentary. It's so funny. When I went back, and we were just earlier, we're editing the documentary. It's so funny because it's one extreme to the other. One extreme is all black, and the other one is there's rednecks with Confederate flags and like Camaros in the front yard and like Harley Davidsons and guns and stuff. It's crazy. It's like right out of the movie. I can't even make this stuff up. I have it documented, so my documentary is coming out, and I'll make sure you get an invitation to it. Yeah. We're gonna rent out a Chinese theater, and it's gonna be fun.
Oh, are you really?
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
Cool. Okay.
So when I went to school, I obviously didn't speak English. I went to school as a 7th grader. I remember when I walked into school, it was like a Michael Jackson's Beat It video. As soon as I walked in, I didn't look like anyone else. I mean, it was like I stood out like a sore thumb because I had these high socks on, these shorts, I have a briefcase, a bowl cut, a unibrow.
And everyone was either white or black.
Yeah, everybody was. I was the only minority in school, and I kept hearing everyone kept saying, "What is you? What is you?" Either people were wearing AC/DC jackets, or people were wearing LL Cool J jackets, and there was no in between, And so I went to the counselor. I said, "You know what? I want to play football. I want to enroll. I want to learn English. I want to play football." They're like, "Yeah, football." I'm like, this country is weird. This is the foot. I know that. I know this is the hand, this is the foot, right? I said, football. No, they're like, no. That's called soccer. This is football in America. And I said, we don't have a soccer team. And I was devastated because that was my pride and joy. Ever since I was walking, I was playing soccer. Like I literally would play 6 hours of soccer every day in my old country. And I was getting drafted to play for the national team as young as I was 11 because I was that good. Wow. And I come in the middle of nowhere, America. They don't even know what soccer is. So now imagine you're 11 years old. You don't speak the language. You stick out like a sore thumb. You're the only minority in the school. You're short. You're skinny. So, imagine the name calling. Imagine the bullying. I think, got in 10 fights and I lost all of them. I'm 0-10.
But you played soccer, you were small. You didn't
Yeah.
be fast going between your legs.
Yeah, it was crazy, man. It was crazy. But when I look back at the time, when you go through devastation, at the time you were like, oh my God, like, why me? And then later on you found out that, there was a reason that you went through everything in life, just like you have, and so for people who are listening to this and people who are going through something, life is going to, punch you in the mouth. But instead of you saying, why me, look life in the face and say, try me. Because God is not going to bless you before testing your faith. So every adversity you're going through, that's God's way of testing your faith. And if you're not passing the test, the blessing on the other side is not going to be ready for you.
Or it's going to keep coming back in different ways or different versions of it until you learn the lesson that was meant to be learned. 100%,
Absolutely.
100%. So I want to go back a little bit. You said your father left when you were 3 years old. You literally have, first of all, do you have any memories of him?
I do have slight memories of him. Yes, I do. I remember, I'm going to tell you a couple of memories. I remember a couple of times laying down with him, and it felt so good having a dad in his arm. But, a couple of times laying with him. I remember him. I remember, it's weird, Kayla, but I remember smelling him. Like you smell your dad. I remember laying down with him and kind of, how my baby right now, my 12-week-old. So I remember that. I remember one time, though, I was out in the backyard. It was like 6 o'clock in the afternoon. Like the sun was about to go down. I was playing with my toy cars. I was like, I don't know, I think 3 years old. And I remember my dad leaving and my mom right behind him, like chasing him down, yelling at him. And I was like, why is my mom always yelling at my dad?
It's crazy.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, it's crazy. I remember vividly that one, and why is my mom yelling at my dad? I couldn't understand. So, in my mind, I was like, why is my mom always mad at him? And then, later on, I found out that, well, he was an alcoholic. He had a gambling addiction. And he basically would go out as soon as he get a paycheck, would go blow it on alcohol and gambling. And my mom had to pawn off her jewelry and pawn off, whatever she had to be able to buy diapers and milk, and all that kind of stuff. So, that's when I found out the whole situation and everything.
What did your dad do for a living?
So my dad came from a very wealthy family.
Oh.
And so in the old country, if you're ultra wealthy, what they do is they don't even raise you. They send you to boarding school, to the best boarding schools. So even though he was raised in a very wealthy family, they send him to boarding school in England. That was if you made it, that's what you do.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he never really had, a father and a mother. So he grew up just in a boarding school, which they thought they were doing him a favor and giving him the best of education. But,
Yep.
Now we know that there's nothing like school is fine, but you need that foundation, of mother and father, somebody to lay the law with you.
100%. And we were just, when I say we, me and my son, we talk pretty much about everything. And so that's what we noticed. So I'm from South Orange County, right? So we were talking about Laguna Beach. I used to work at a barbershop in Laguna Beach, and we would have, everyone that came in was mostly locals. And there was a lot of teenagers that came in for haircuts and stuff like that. And I would have conversations with them. And when they would come in, they would say, oh, I just got out of rehab. And I'm like, how old are you? And they're like, oh, 17. I'm like, how long were you in rehab for? Like 4 years.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? And so that's when I started learning that Laguna Beach has the most rehabs for children, but they grew up around money. But those are the kids that end up with the most problems and most issues, because even though their families has money, they still have that negligence from their own parents, and their parents have tons of issues that they're still dealing with, but they got money to cover it up.
Well, a lot of times when we start making a lot of money, and it's nothing against people who are rich or anything like that. It's just what our mentality changes because we think that money can solve pretty much everything. So if we have a problem, we throw money at it and say, oh, money's going to help us, so I'm going to throw money. I'm going to have somebody else just raise my children, and they're going to just there's something that you just got to do yourself, and so that's what the whole thing is. So my dad was an English teacher in the old country. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So he was an English teacher. So why did he go to Canada? Do you know?
Yeah. So in, a brief history, my last name is Bakhtiar. So if you Google that name and look at the pictures, there's a guy named Shapur Bakhtiar, which was the prime minister of my old country under the old regime. He was my dad's uncle. So my great uncle was the prime minister of the country. And so when the revolution took over, when all the Ayatollah and, you know, all the Islamic revolution just came in and took over, they had to get out of the country. And he got out of the country. He went straight to Canada.
Got it. And you have not spoken to him. Has he tried reaching out? Because you're everywhere.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he's seen.
He actually passed away. He passed away about 10, 15 years ago. And, you know, it's funny because, you know, there's that Tupac song that said, my dad passed away and I couldn't cry. That was me. You know, that was me. Like, my dad passed away, but I was trying to cry, but I couldn't cry. You know, it's like, because I don't know him. It's like, it's a total stranger. It's like, I remember, you know, when he went to Canada, like, he will call me every week or every other week or every month, and then became less and became less because it's just a distance, right? Many years go by, become less. I remember when he first went to Canada, he sent me a remote control toy car. It was like a red Corvette. And I remember, oh, my dad sent me this. I was so happy. I still have that memory, you know. But after that, it was less and less and less. Then he got remarried there, and after that, that was it.
Do you ever think about knowing that he passed away? Is there, like, did you ever think about, like, what something you wanted to say to him when he was still here?
You know what, man? I mean, you know, knowing what I know now, you know, I would have tried to help him.
How would you?
I would have tried to help him. I'm like, you know, I mean, how can you? You know, to me, it's like weird. Maybe because I have a chip on my shoulder. Maybe because I never had a dad. And I think that's my superpower. Because I'm now overcompensating. I want to be the super dad. I want to be the super provider. You know, like, you know, I'll get whatever my wife and whatever my children need. Because we didn't have it. You know, so to me, nothing in life is more rewarding for a man to be able to provide for his woman and his children. To me, that's my whole why. That's the whole reason for the way I exist. You know, I live to provide for my family. You know what I mean? And I don't know how a man can just, like, you know, prefer partying or drinking over his children or his wife. I just don't get that. But so with that, that means, I mean, obviously there's addictions and things like that. So he had a problem. I would try to help him.
You would try to help him.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I would love to talk about your mother.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
Tell me, how was that like? You know, you said, I know that she struggled. She was a struggle,
Yeah.
you know, single mom, and, you know, with the experience.
Yeah.
And, you know, Jordan, by the way, my son is here, for those that don't know. He was, when he was listening to your story, he was like, we have so much in common.
Yeah.
And I was like, how is that? He was like, you know, growing up single mom, food stamps, WIC, we had that too.
Yeah.
So, tell me.
Yeah, at least you admit it.
Huh?
You know, at least you admit it.
Oh.
You know, my mom was way too proud to ever admit it. You know, most people have rags to riches story. I have a rags to riches story. My parents and my grandparents and everybody else, they had riches to rags story. They had it all and they lost it all.
Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Okay.
They had it all and they lost it all, whether it was gambling and alcohol or the government or whatever they want to, you know, do it. But, and there's nothing worse when I get around some of my relatives, older relatives. They talk about what they used to have and what they used to be. And that, to me, I like always, I have to leave the room. And a lot of times I don't want to go hang out with them because I'm not into what I used to be. I'm about what I'm going to be.
100%.
You know what I mean? And oh, you know, we used to have this. What do you have now?
Exactly.
You know, so yeah, so let's talk about my mom.
Yeah. So she's still here.
Yeah, actually she lives.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I didn't know about your mom.
No,
so,
yeah.
like,
No, she's here.
Okay. And well, okay, let's go back. Let's go back to growing up and what is like the best memories you remember of your mom growing up and the worst memories you remember of your mom growing up.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Okay. I'm going to go on a camera and say that one of the biggest scars that I have is not right. I don't have a relationship with my mom.
Today you don't.
I don't have a relationship with my mom. And I have tried my best to have a relationship with her. But we just are in two different worlds and two different frequencies. And my mom came to America, but she's never evolved. You know, we come to America, nobody is Native American except Native Americans. So we all are from somewhere. We come to America to evolve and become better, and for ourselves to pick up what we like about American culture, what we don't like about American culture, what we like about the Mexican culture, what we like about whatever culture, and we kind of make our own little rules and set of rules for home. My mom is old school Middle Eastern Persian lady that is just, she thinks there's one way, this is the only way. Now you were talking to me about, oh, me and my son talk about everything. I've never been able to talk to my mom. Like, I was never able to say, Mom, guess what? I met a girl. Mom, guess what? Without being judged or without being condemned or without being, without her telling the whole family and making a huge deal and all that kind of stuff. But growing up, man, my mom has been, she's like a male and a female. She's so strong. She's strong. She's very, very headstrong, very, very determined, because she single-handedly provided for me. She single-handedly brought me to America. She did the best that she could. But as I got older, she didn't evolve with her way of thinking. I had trouble when I started working out. She was against that. Because nobody, in Iran, they don't work out, they don't put stress under the thing. I remember when I first shaved my arm, I served my leg for a bodybuilding thing, and she was crying.
Yeah.
I mean, she literally cried, man. She thought she'd lost her son. I remember a couple of times that, if I had a date, if a girl came to home, she'll open up the door and shut it in her face, and come back and just say, why is she dressed like that? Like it was like I was never able to talk to her.
Why do you think she did that?
I think she loves me so much, and she wants the best for me. However, you can't be a dictator to your kids. For me, as a parent, all I can do for my children is to advise them and be a trusted advisor and coach them. I can't condemn them. I'm gonna say, hey, this is what, basically, there's consequences in your choices. And I can show them all the way, but it wasn't. It was, for her, it was one where, I'll give you an example. My first wife, she was black and French, if you can believe it or not, because my kids are super white. Yeah. No. Yeah. She's black and French, right? And but she was fair, very fair, like my color, But my mom said, she came up straight and told me, I don't want black grandchildren. Oh yeah, she's like, I don't want black grandchildren. And just ripped me. You know what I mean? I remember when I called her, told her, hey, I got engaged. She was like, to who? Oh. And I've been dating someone for 4 years. I've been with the same girl for 4 years, and all that. I remember at my wedding, in my first wedding. Well, I mean, I was just coming up. I was just starting my business. I think my first wedding was like, I don't know, $15,000 total. That's all I could afford. And my mom came in, and I never got any help from her. And my mom said, "Oh, this is so ghetto here." Oh yeah. So so emotionally, she's done so much, so when I was married, she didn't like my ex, and my ex didn't like her. it was always, she like, first of all, on the record, she didn't like anybody I was with. You know what I mean? She was trying to hook me up with that Persian girl, because in her eyes, old school Persian thinking is like, you gotta marry a Persian girl because they come from a nice family. They don't sleep around. They don't do this. And we know that's not true. We know, everybody is their own people. You know what I mean? Everybody is their own people. We can't stereotype, that kind of stuff. I found that out the hard way, because I went out with a Persian girl, and let me tell you, they do. You know what I mean? let me not get into that. But go ahead.
So, okay, and I thought you guys, and because you speak so, when you spoke about her, you always spoke highly of her because of what she's done for you and stuff like that. And so, does she still live in Pennsylvania?
No, she lives here. She lives in Eastville. She lives in Eastville, yeah.
So how far is that from you?
About 15, 20 minutes.
So you guys live 15, 20 minutes away from each other, and you guys don't have a relationship. Sam, me and my parents live in the same city, and we don't have a relationship. Your mom sounds exactly like me. And the thing is,
I didn't know that about you.
It's upsetting. They don't even have a relationship with my own son.
Yeah.
And what you just explained.
But let me go ahead. Let me finish. It gets better, Kayla. We gotta move. It's gonna get better. You want to air my laundry? I'm gonna air it.
Yeah, let's do it. All I'm gonna say is I understand you more than you know.
Yeah,
you and I, we have the same type of thinking. But please tell me more.
No, so you know how they didn't like. So it came a time when my mom just, one thing after another. I remember going to Disneyland with my kids. And I took my mom, and I told the kids, I'm like, hey, if you guys want desserts, want ice cream, you gotta finish your broccoli. And I sat there, and I turned around, and my mom grabbed the broccoli from the plate and threw it away and act like they ate it. Like just disrespected me in front of my children, and like overriding me from everything I know, because she wanted to control everything. Just like one of many things. When I got engaged to Crystal, she went and told Crystal and her mom, well, my son didn't ask my permission to marry you. I'm 44 years old. I as a 44-year-old man who's done okay for himself. I think I know what I'm doing. I don't do drugs. I don't know. I'm not an alcoholic. I've done okay for myself, better than anybody else in the family. So I think I know what I'm doing. So she said, yeah. So like, and she's like, you know what? There's 6 months left to the wedding. Anything still can happen. Yes, she said that,
to Crystal.
and her mother. You know what I mean? And I'm going like, I just told my mom, like, Mom, why? Well, just tell me why. Like, I don't get it. Like, why?
So you guys moved to Pennsylvania. How did she end up here? Did you move her?
So my mom, one thing that I always respect about my mom is that this whole time that I was with my mom, I never saw her being around too many men, being around men and bringing men around and stuff like that. I never saw that. Once I graduated, I went to college. She got remarried. And so, they had their life in Pennsylvania and all that kind of stuff. And they were traveling because he worked for the government, and he was like a doctor to the government, stuff like that, to the embassy. So I guess my mom was ready to leave, but she didn't leave. She come back home one time and saw like a 20-year-old girl.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, he was like with like she thought it was like a maid or something.
Oh
It was a maid or anything, right? So then she got divorced. And then when she got divorced, then she's like, yeah, I'm just going to move here, be close to my son, and all, which I was all about it. She moved here, but all throughout her life, she couldn't just be a grandmother or because she had to come in, and she'll come in and rearrange the furniture. She'll come in here and like will say something to Crystal that would offend her. She's always saying stuff, jabs at offending people, you know. And I'm like, man, I'm 44 years old. You know, she was like 67 or 68. You know, I'm like, how, you know, and I saw a pattern. I saw a vicious pattern. And rather than keep repeating the pattern, you know, I decided that, look, I love my mom. I'm going to be for her financially if she needs me, but I can't give her my bandwidth. And I don't want to subject my kids to bad energy. Because I tell you, whenever she's around, and she was around, every muscle in my body was tense. Crystal can feel it. Everybody could feel it. I was just on the edge because I didn't know what's going to come out of her mouth next. What was she going to do?
And I know a lot of people don't like to hear this, but when they say you can't choose your family, it's so true. And here's the thing: if they're toxic, if they're not helping you to elevate in your life, if they're just negative and just treating you, you have the choice. Either allow them to stick around or not. And people think, oh, but it's my mom. Oh, but it's my... It doesn't matter. And so, you know, people just need to realize that. You know, just because it's your blood. And it's hard for people like you and I because we're so family-oriented and it's so extremely important. You know, I forced myself to try to have relationships with my I'm talking about my aunts, my cousins, and stuff like that. You know, long story short, I ended up getting robbed by my own family, my cousins, and I won't get into that. But it's like, you know what? As much as I try, I just realized this is doing nothing for me. It's hurting me. Why do I want to be around this energy? Yeah. You know, and so it's hard because there's people out there with too much money around. They're passed away. I have all my parents, and it's tough. It's hard. So
it's sad though. It's really sad. You know. And the funny thing is, that, you know, when I cut my relationship with my mom, and I just want to say I just want to keep it separate. You know, then her and my ex are now friends, and she's hanging around with my ex with my children.
No way.
Yes, you know, and it's like the craziest thing, Kayla, because even my aunts and my uncles, they're like dumbfounded. They're like, what is she doing that?
Is she trying to like prove a point?
No, I think she just wants to be with the kids. Obviously, right? She wants to see the children, but she shouldn't be with my children if she doesn't have a relationship with me. Does that make sense? And especially not going to hang around with my ex and her boyfriend and my children. And we're like, are you serious? So that's why I know, like, you know, that as a mother, see, one thing that my mom never had, that was always her core issue with me, was certain things that are non-negotiable. Everything was maybe yes, maybe no. She couldn't decide on something and say, this is the only way. She could tell me the only way, but she couldn't, you know. And part of it is like this. I'm like, wait, you know, if I didn't have a relationship with my daughter, I would not going to go hang out with her ex-boyfriend or her ex-husband. And you know what I mean? There are certain things you just don't do, you know. And so that's my mother, man. You want to know about her? Here you go.
Jeez, I thought this whole time you guys were close.
Yeah.
So I got like super excited. Like, tell me about your mom.
Yeah. No. You know, I love my mom. I respect her for what she did. And I've also learned what not to do with my children. You know, I became a doctor because my mom wanted me to become a doctor, not because I want to become a doctor.
The fact that you went through with that.
8 years.
And then after you got, okay, I'm a doctor now, can I please do my thing? The fact that you respected her so much at that point of just doing what made her happy. Yeah. But then you were able to do what you wanted.
I know her lifelong dream was to say my son was a doctor.
And you made that happen.
I made that happen. And then after that, I wanted to start my gym business, and I started it.
And then look at you now, and she still can't just.
In a perfect world, man, she would just come in and be a grandmother and come here and enjoy everything. And this was her time for her to enjoy life, and she missed it. So growing up, I'm not going to be that parent. I'm not going to force anything on my children. I'm just going to advise them. When growing up, Kayla, I didn't have a dad. I didn't have any siblings. I'm the only child, and I didn't have a mom to talk to. So I'm a horrible communicator because I just don't. I would never communicate it. So even right now, I'm becoming a better communicator because of Crystal. A lot of times in the beginning, she's like, "You just don't talk to me. You don't say anything." I learned that, from the very beginning, I'm just gonna whatever I'm gonna go through. I'm gonna keep my mouth shut, go through it, and once I go through it, once I overcome it, then I'll talk about it. Crystal, she has she's Mexican. She has all this close family and cousins, this and that. She's going through something. About 67 people know about it. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
And then you know about it. Then
the whole community knows about it, right? And I'm going I just shake I'm not used to that. I'm used to that. I go through it. Nobody knew. When I got divorced, nobody knew about it for like months and months and months. I was living in a hotel, Kayla. I didn't tell anyone. I just went to work like nothing happened.
So, do you have that bigger family? Because it sounds like Crystal got that big Mexican family.
No, our family is not big. It's not tight. It was tight. We were in the old country where my grandparents were alive. But then some went to Germany, some went to France, some came to America, and yeah.
So, all right, well, God bless us. Tell us a little bit more, like getting up to so your childhood, and then around high school time. I know you talked a little bit about being in a school with being just completely different. When did things start changing for you, where things started you started realizing who you were, what you liked, and stuff like that? How did that start?
So when I came to America, I felt like I didn't belong. And that belonging is one of the primary human needs. We all want to be accepted. We all want to belong. And not being black, not being white, not, knowing the language, not knowing any of the sports everyone else knows, I didn't belong. So I remember I tried out for the basketball team and I got cut. That was so devastating. Coming from a star soccer player, was getting drafted for a national team, to nobody who got cut from the team and getting ridiculed. I started going to the boys' club to try to get better at basketball, and I fell in love with weightlifting. And I started working out. And once I started developing like a little bit of baby muscles, I started feeling better about myself. I started having better self-esteem, and I felt like people were noticing me more. And that's when I was like, wow, okay. I felt better, because, emotionally as a teenager, I was so down. Back then, bullying was a fact of life. It wasn't if you get bullied, is when you got bullied. You got bullied by somebody, whether it was a kid in your class or a kid in the upper class. There was always a kid bigger than you. You know what I mean? And now, gosh, I walk around the hallways in school. There's like bullying hotline, and all that kind of stuff. And I don't want to. Bullying is a terrible thing if you let it be a terrible thing.
Right.
For me, bullying made me tough. Bullying, I use bullying to fuel my drive. I use bullying to fuel my gym workout. I use bullying to get better, and I guess that's a metaphor for life. Bullying is adversity. Bullying, is you have somebody about to punch you in the mouth, whether it's life or whether it's another kid. What are you going to do?
it gets you prepared for life, because life isn't, unicorns and rainbows. But I think I commented actually on one of your posts about bullying, and when I read your post, I kind of got fired up.
Yeah.
I think I left like a long old comment, and I'm just like, I'm just so sick and tired of seeing these kids. Nowadays, they're babies. I don't know what else how to say it, but it's like bullying. Not that I'm saying that bullying is okay.
No, we definitely not say that. Yeah.
But what I'm referring to is exactly what you're saying. Bullying was a way of getting you prepared for real life issues, because when you're out in the real world,
I got bullied by a girl.
Okay.
I got bullied by a girl. I'm gonna straight up tell you that. When I came to America, I'm like, well, I'm 5'5". I think at that time I was like 5 foot tall. I was like 100 pounds.
So the one thing in Iran, don't mean to interrupt you, but because you guys were in a different third world country, so like you're worrying about living rather than bullying. Is that? I
don't remember bullying in Iran. I don't remember any of that because I was there till like 4th or 5th grade. I should have probably known or noticed. And you're right, we're more worried about getting bombed on and getting bullied. But I think bullying is in every species, and it's in the nature that somebody more dominant or somebody, a bigger species or a bigger lion, is going to try to dominate the smaller lion and things like that. That's what bullying is. I don't think I think it's a species thing, right? And that's why I don't know if you know, when on the farm, if they want to pick a dog, in a litter, they get the smallest dog in the litter. Why? Because that small dog got picked on by the bigger dog, and he's the toughest son of a bitch out of all of them.
I didn't know that.
It's called the runt of the litter.
Wow.
So I'm the runt of the litter.
So you got bullied. And then you started getting your baby muscles. So
Yeah.
I'm assuming that you were just kind of more of a scrawny kid.
Yeah.
That in itself will definitely gain the confidence. So high school. Did you end up? So you just got into bodybuilding. You didn't really get into.
Yeah. So I never got into basketball. I fell in love with not only what weightlifting did for me on the outside, but how it made me feel on the inside. Right now, some people always talk to me, Sam, do you like being short ever bother you? And I look at them like, honestly, no. Honestly, I don't. That's never been an issue with me. I've never I wish I was taller, and because I got short guys, messaging me like, I'm short. That ever I'm like, no. Shoot. If it was, my ex-wife was 5'11". Yes. Like my 10-year-old is almost as tall as me. So when I take her to church and drop her off, they're like, who's this? I'm like yours?
That's so funny.
Yeah.
So your first wife,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I know a little bit about how basically you guys didn't really work out because you guys just had a lot of differences. Or what happened with that? Where you get a little deep.
So, when we met, we had working out in common. We had partying in common. And then we got, we lived together for a few years. And then I felt like after dating for so long, at least I owed her to marry her. You know what I mean? And so we did. And we have 2 beautiful children from that. And there's no regrets there for me whatsoever. However, we got married in 2007. And in 2008, the recession hit. And I literally, remember, at one time, I never wanted to have kids till I was financially secure. So once I thought, I was financially secure, we started trying to have kids. And literally when she was 6 months pregnant, It was a middle recession. I had a meeting with her at a restaurant right here in Chino, and I said, man, we're negative $300 in our account. Payroll is due in 2 weeks. It's like $19,000. We don't have anything. And that's when I said, you know what, don't, stay home, take care of yourself. Don't worry. I'm going to go out there, do whatever I can. So I literally, Kayla, worked like 18, 20 hours a day, literally, 5-7 days a week. I would come home so defeated because I would feel like, oh my God, Sam, you're going to be just like that loser father you had. To this day, my biggest fear, after all this you see, my biggest fear is waking up and not be able to provide for my family. That's my biggest fear of all. Not death, not anything. For me, that's my biggest fear, And my biggest fear was just happening to me, and I was bringing a kid in this world. So my self-esteem and my whole thing was just shot.
And this was after you were making millions.
Yeah, I wasn't making millions.
Oh.
I wasn't making millions. I would say I was barely a millionaire. Barely a millionaire. I'm talking about like with all the assets combined and everything like that. I was barely a millionaire,
But
and
you were doing well.
I was doing well. Yeah, I had 2 homes. I had 2 homes. I had some nice cars. I had some money in the bank. And next thing you know, I kept putting money back in the business, putting money back in the business was bleeding. Business was bleeding. Next, I had nothing. So later I started working, and I would come home so defeated. I would just come home. I remember sitting on the couch and she would be talking. I'm like, I couldn't hear anything she was saying because I was just like, I was like, it's almost like PTSD syndrome, and we just started growing apart and growing apart and growing apart. And it's crazy, Kayla. I'm gonna talk about some things that I've never talked about before, and this will. It's just crazy. So we got in a fight in 2011, and we just got in a big fight, a big blowout. She yelled at me, I yelled at her, this and this and that. And I didn't think nothing of it. And I remember being at work, and I got some papers, and I threw the papers. All right, whatever. And, we literally got in a fight, and about 4 days later, we were back together. Right? So. And in the meantime, we have another kid, Haley Jean. And when Haley was born, in 2014, we get another big fight. So we got like a big fight every 3 years or something like that, right? And then when we get a big fight, and then she's like, why did you leave the house? And I said, well, why would I want to leave the house? I'm like, I'm going to sit downstairs, you sit upstairs, we're going to hash it out after a week or so, figure out what we're going to do. She goes, well, you better leave the house before I call the cops. I'm like, I'm not calling the cops. You know what I mean? So the cops come, and they come, they knock on my door, and they're like, what are you doing here? And I got smart. I'm like, no, what are you doing here? It's my house. And they're like, well, did you know that you have a restraining order against you? And I'm like, what do you mean restraining order? She's like, yeah, and it's about to expire next week. But I'm like, how can I have a restraining order if I've been living here? She's like, well, you have one on record. And and had another child.
What?
Yeah, so there's 2 cops, and they're looking at each other like, I looked at one of them was like, well, I got to take you to jail. The other one was like, well, let's see what's going on. I go, look, there was a picture of my daughter, which is 1 year old, right? And I said, look, I go, you see my daughter right there? She's 1. How can I have a restraining order for 3 years? You tell me. And they both looked at each other like, what is going on? Like they're dumbfounded. So they're like, you know what? We don't know what's going on. Why don't you get your clothes and just leave. And that's when I know I was done. So I got my clothes. I went to a hotel here in Chino Hills Hotel, $67 a night. I was shout out, and when I went to figure out what happened was the one time that we had a big fight, she automatically sent me a restraining order.
And that was 3 years prior.
And that was 3 years. So that's the one, the paper that I got that I didn't think nothing of. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, I'm in the middle of work. I'm like, okay, whatever this is, I get to it later. But we got back together like 3 days later. But this whole time, she knew I had a restraining order against me and never told me or never retracted it or anything like that. So the next time we had a fight, she used it. But thank God the cops were like, they could took me to jail, but they didn't. They're like, you know what? This something doesn't make sense. Something was going on. So that's when I knew that I was 100% out of that relationship.
Yeah. Wow. So
everybody looks at this like, oh, Sam, oh my God. These are the stuff you go through life to build what you want. Nobody goes going to go through life undefeated. I fucked up everything. I messed up everything. But I'm still here.
So what is the relationship like now?
Oh, God.
Is this too personal?
No.
Let's get into it.
Oh, no.
I'm sure it's casual because kids, right?
No, it's pretty bad, actually. Well, you know, when I got remarried, obviously, she didn't even want the kids to go to the wedding. I had to go to court to get a statement from the court, have the judge say the kids have to go. We have to fight over that.
But doesn't she have a boyfriend?
I think she does, but I don't know. She's still.
Why would she not want?
Well, you know, the whole issue, Kayla, is this. When she kicked me to the curb, basically, you know, because when you issue a restraining order, you basically kick somebody to the curb, right, for no reason. It was 2014. I remember from 2007 to 2013, I barely made anything. Remember, it was a recession, right? I think the biggest year I had was 150,000 that year. In 2013, I made 300, but that was the last year. We didn't even finish 2013. We got separated September 2014. Then after that, obviously, my income doubled and quadrupled. So she's bitter. Can you hear me? Yeah, she's bitter. She's bitter now that, you know, I have a, you know, young wife, much hotter than her.
It doesn't matter.
You know, much hotter than her. I mean, let's just be real. You know, and a lot younger. And now I'm doing well in life. And it, you know, and she kicked me to the curb right before I started doing well.
But you guys were also kind of, it sounds like it was such an on and off fight and good, like, relationship before. So it wasn't like it, you know, it wasn't like it didn't start working out or having problems around the time that you were losing money. So was that having anything? No,
it has nothing. It has nothing to do with money. We're just having issues. You know, we're just not in the same page on a lot of things. You know, and the fact is that me not having a father, I never wanted to have a relationship and then divorce. I never wanted that. So I would have never pulled the trigger. Even though I was not happy, she wasn't happy, I wasn't pulling the trigger. So going back now, remember I said everything happens for you for a reason. A lot of times we try to avoid something in life. No, I don't want to do this. I want to do this. And then it happens. And we're like, why? Because God is pushing you towards something greater that you wanted for yourself. Because I could have still been in a relationship, be miserable, and raise kids in a miserable relationship. Now, you know, I'm in a much better place if it wasn't because of that. So I can go back and say, thanks to my ex for kicking me to the curb.
And say if you were to stick around for that, fight for it, wouldn't it have necessarily brought you to this point?
100%. Because,
you know, being in that toxicity could be holding you back from putting in your full potential.
Kayla, the camp blew up when we got separated. The reason was this. I literally lived in Chino Hills Hotel for 4 months. And I literally sat in that hotel, in that room, many nights and just cried. And I, you know, because I'm like, fuck, I'm 40 years old. I was 40 years old. I'm 40 years old. I'm not a young person anymore. So I'm 40 years old. In the past 7 years, I've been going through a recession. I was broke. Now I'm starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And now I lost my family. So I literally asked God, I'm like, why? That's when I had that talk with God. Like sometimes we have that talk about, why God? Why me? Why me? Why are you doing this to me? So I was like, all right, what am I going to do? I'm single now, 40 years old. I'm like, what do single people do? Do I go to the club, start hanging out, start doing all the crap that I used to do in my late 20s and early 20s, and I'm like, wow, no, man, I can't do that anymore. I don't want to be the old man in the club. You know what I mean? There's always that one old dude in the club, you know what I mean? And I don't want to be that dude, you know what I mean? And I'm like, you know what? My top priority is spend time with my children. So since that's taken away, because I now see them on Wednesdays and on the weekends, my second priority is what? Provide for my children. Because to me, that's my second thing, right? My main thing for existence. So basically, for every minute that I wasn't with the children, I was either in the gym or working. I would fall asleep in that hotel with a computer on my chest, just working, till we started blowing up the camp. We started franchising the camp. We started, expanding. And yes, you're right, 100% right. Wasn't because of that divorce, I would still probably be back to the old house. I still would have had, I would have been okay.
So when did Crystal get into the picture? Because obviously the universe did its job, aligned the stars, and it happened.
So it's funny because I was just concentrating on work, and I wasn't ready for a relationship. Sure, I dated, a girl or two. Not, I didn't want to, I dated, I think 2 girls, but nothing serious. And they wanted more serious from me. And I was like, no, I'm not. I'm just want to work, children. If you want to go out once in a while, cool. But I let people know from the get-go. So I remember, I used to get my mail at the Chino location at the thing, because since I'm not living in the house, I didn't, and I never checked my mail in an apartment. I just had everything go to work and in the gym.
You were in the hotel.
I live in a hotel, right? Get my so all my mail went to the Chino location, and every once a week I would stop and get my mail and all that kind of stuff. So I stopped one day, and I saw, get my mail, and I saw Crystal, and she was so nice, so polite. She was very bubbly. It's funny because she said I met her before at a Christmas party, but I don't remember because I had a few drinks at a Christmas party. So I remember she goes, "Remember I met you before," but that's the first time I remember seeing Crystal, and I called the manager there, because we were friends with I was very good friends with the manager. Crystal was the assistant manager now, a new hire. And I told the manager, I said, who's this new girl? I'm like, I need to fire her, and she's like, why? What did she do? She was like, well, what did she do? I go, she's kind of cute. I want to date her. And I was totally kidding. I was totally kidding. It was a total joke. It was a total joke because one, I've never dated an employee before. I've never even, went out with, never. That was a rule. And she was way younger than me. I would, it was never, it was a total joke. And I always say, be careful what you say. They always say, be careful whether it's true or not. Or don't say it if you don't. And I just said that, right? And for the next 2 years, like I would occasionally stop by and get the mail, and we say hi, hello, we have casual conversation, and that was it. It was like every once in a while, and all that kind of stuff. And we just started talking a little bit more, but nothing crazy. I was going out with a couple of girls. She was, dating, someone, I guess, or whatever. But it was never. I've never said, "Hey, let's go out" or anything like that. Yeah. Her birthday was coming up. And she said, "Sam, come to my birthday." And I said, "All right, well, okay, cool," because I was coming back from Dallas or something like that. I said, "All right, when I get back from Dallas, I'm gonna come straight and meet you guys for your birthday." So I went to her birthday, and we started hanging out, and we started like getting closer, and I'm like, oh, this is weird. This is like totally weird. Like I was kind of weirded out. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's so much younger than me. She works for me. Like, I was actually like I'm like, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, I was like, I don't know. And so then we started texting more, talking more. And then I'm like, oh my God, you know what? This ain't cool. I gotta meet. I said, I gotta tell my business partners. So I told my business partners, and they're like, well, let's run it by HR. You know? I'm like, so we ran it by HR since I wasn't her immediate supervisor.
What do you say when you go to HR? Like, what did you say?
Well, you know, we just said, hey, you know what? I'm dating somebody in this position in the company.
Okay, so you're already dating at this point. It wasn't.
We're not. I'm thinking about dating. Let's just say that.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But we weren't dating. I said, I'm, you know, kind of, you know, I have an interest in this person, in this company, and they're like, well, you know, I guess what the HR rule is that you can't be their immediate supervisor.
Okay.
That's the HR rule, and I was like, well, I'm not her immediate supervisor, you know, and all that kind of stuff. So we got okay from that, but then even then, I was really apprehensive, you know, because in my, you know, Crystal is young, Crystal is beautiful, and I wasn't looking for someone to. I didn't want to break her heart. I didn't want to. Okay, you know, when I was in my 20s, it would have been a different story. You know, I would, let's get with her and we'll just, you know, get a consequence. When you get in your 40s, you look at everything and be like, well, I don't want to, you know, I don't want to get close and something happens. So I looked at it from a parent, you know, since I'm a dad, and I'm like, what would I think if my daughter all of a sudden wants to date somebody 20 years older? And I'm like, I'm not sure I'll be okay with that. To this day, I'm not sure if I'm going to be okay with that. So I said, well, Crystal, I'm like, what does your parents think? I want to meet your parents.
So that's right.
Yeah.
And what she said.
So sure. You know, so I went and met her mom, her dad, and they're very cool, very receptive. I wish the dad's a cop. You know what I mean? So I'm like, you know, so I was on my toes. And when we saw that, okay, well, everybody is cool, then we started dating. And it's funny because my business partners were cool with it. My parents were cool with it. We were cool with it. But then when we all of a sudden started dating, the public wasn't cool with it. Because public always has their opinion. And for people who are listening to this, always remember, no matter what you're going to do, somebody's going to have the opinion of it. There's only a few people in the world that their opinions should matter to you. And you guys know who that is. But the most important person's opinion is the man upstairs and your opinion of yourself.
And the fact that you asked to meet her parents first, you kind of did that in a way of like getting the approval of what they would take first. So that's like.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't, you know, I wasn't into, you know, I wasn't about to start a relationship knowing that's going to fail. You know what I mean? Not for anything. You know what I mean? I was like, nah, I'd rather just be friends and be cool forever, right? And then all of a sudden start a relationship and it goes back. Because I've done that before in my 20s. We all have done that before.
Yeah.
You know, we all done that before, right? You know, we start a relationship, we don't really think about it. You know, it's kind of hot and heavy at the moment, you know, and then we forget it. But when you get older, you look at it from a bigger perspective, you know? And I was like, all right. Yeah.
And now here you are with a brand new baby.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to say his name wrong.
Saman.
Saman. That's your name.
Yes. Yep.
So you named
Yep.
it.
Yeah.
And I think the middle name's Alexander.
Alexander. Yeah.
That's such a powerful name. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. He's just my absolute joy and apple of my eye. You know, and it's so crazy. Even like looking back, you know, like who would have thought? Me and Crystal to this day, we wake up and like, I can't believe like you're my wife, and like she's like, I can't believe you're my husband. Like it's crazy. Like who would have thought? Like it's just how life works.
How old is he now?
He is almost 4 months. Almost 4 months, and he's like so cute, and he starts recognizing you now, and he starts smiling and giggling, and he's this chunky little thing, man. It's so cute.
How's Haley and Bailey doing then?
Yeah, so Haley and Bailey, they love their brother, you know, and you know Haley a little more than Bailey, because Bailey's now like 10 years old, and gosh, like it's weird, Kayla, because like they're developing faster these days, I think. I don't know, because
What do you mean developing, like mentally?
like I mean, she's like 10 years old, but she's like almost like a teenage, like acts like a teenager, talks like a teenager, has an attitude like a teenager, and is developed like a teenager. Like I remember that, a few months ago, we're like, hey guys, okay, after the pool, get in the bath, I'm gonna come back and rinse you guys off. And I go to the bathroom, I'm like, oh shoot, Crystal, I need your help with Bailey. I can't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's crazy. Like I'm like, she's 10. I'm like, oh my god, like where's the boobs come from already? And I mean, and everything.
I say that too with Jordan because you look at him and you don't even think that he's 12. You know what I mean? He's like huge, but it's like, what are they putting in their food?
Yeah.
Like, they're just they're so much bigger.
Yeah.
I just remember kids being much smaller back then. But so there's just one question. So I did a small little post about like, hey guys, podcast with Sam Bakhtiar coming up. What questions do you want me to ask? So I picked like the top
I saw the post.
three.
Yep.
I just picked the top 3.
Okay.
And so one of them, which I wanted to ask you myself. So this was a big one that I got. How did you manage to go from completely broke with nothing to a multi-millionaire in just 5 years? How did that happen?
So you always say you're only one idea, one person away from your next $1 million. You always hear that, right? And it's so true. And it's so true. In life, you don't need huge things to happen. You might just need a little tweak on an existing thing for you to just get a home run. When you look at a football game, when the running back is running through, he just needs a small little opening for him to be a touchdown. And that's what I needed. And I found that small opening in that hotel room, working my ass off 24/7. I figured out how to scale the business, how to market the correct way, and how to get people to be able to sign up for our programs and reward them in a way that's never been done before. And when that idea comes to you, sometimes it comes to you at the craziest time. It literally came to me at the craziest time. And I've actually ran with it, just like Thomas Edison did like 10,000 experiments. I literally have done 60 different experiments, 70 different, I didn't know 1,000, but I've done 60 different versions of what I call the weight loss challenge. I came up with the idea. And some of them did okay, some of them failed miserably, some was like, it was all right. But then I found the perfect thing, and I tested it, and it kept repeating the same results and results and results and results for people. And that's how we were able to sit down and scale the business to a whole new level. Yeah, because exactly 5 years ago, I made it, I lost it, and I made it again and 10x'd it.
That is so crazy. That's very well deserved, obviously.
So you see that meme when that guy is like, trying to find the gold, right? Trying to find a goal or trying to find a goal. Most people quit, but they can be this close to it and people quit. But if you set up a plan and just execute the plan and know that there's going to be times that you're going to get knocked down, there's going to be times that you want to quit, there's going to be times that you just feel like giving up. I didn't. I just kept going. I just showed up, and if you just keep showing up and put in the work, like I said, you need one small idea or one person away from your next $1 million.
That's phenomenal. Okay, so next question. The biggest challenge you've ever faced and how you overcame it. I know there's many challenges that you've overcome. What was the biggest in your eyes and how did you overcome it?
God, I'm trying to figure out which one is a bigger challenge, as so many of my life has been series of challenges. I would say I'm still going through that because my divorce is not final. You know, she's still like is dragging it out. My divorce is final, and for me to get remarried, but she's still coming after me for more money.
Oh, okay.
Right.
I was gonna ask you, how does that work if it's not final, but
You know, my biggest challenge is this. You know, when I got divorced, obviously, you know, I had to go get a lawyer. Then I found out that not only do I have to get a lawyer, I have to get her a lawyer. Right? So I'm paying for my lawyer and I'm paying for her lawyer. And there's nothing worse than paying for somebody who's like, who's against you and like and slandering you in court. You know what I mean? You know, I heard Chris Rock one time say that, you know, he went through a similar situation. He goes, you paying for somebody, you know, for an attorney to represent your ex is like you telling a sniper, hey, I'm going to be at this place at this time, shoot me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Is it because she's not even here for it?
well, because she was a stay-at-home mom.
Oh, I see.
You know, and so then when you go through something like that, you know, it just becomes ugly. You know, and to this day, man, I mean, like I still got court days coming up. You know, and even though, like I said, I had my business before her, I had my homes before her. Nothing was done during marriage. I had to weigh all that stuff. But
I love the Lomani smirks when you talk about that.
yeah,
It's like,
I mean, like it was like I had everything before her, but when you go through something like that, it's like you have to go through this huge process of court and this huge negative energy and huge going back and forth, which to this day I'm dealing with. So I would say the divorce and going through the whole divorce process with court and dealing with a scorned ex is good. My mom and my dad got divorced when I was 3. My mom never got a red cent from my dad. I mean, not even a single red cent from my dad.
is it because she didn't care, or is that just?
No, she said, you know, I don't need that. She was too, so I get it, you know, I get it for myself, right? She was too proud. And to this day, she has never said one negative thing about my dad to me. Not one negative thing about my dad. Everything that I told you, I found out from other people. In front of me, he always said, your dad was great, it just didn't work out between us. Never threw his dirty laundry on, and never told me anything and all that kind of stuff. Now, on this side, you know, I'm providing with her home that I don't have to. You know, I mean, it's my home, but they're living in it, but I'm not paying for it, but I'm taking care of it. She's getting alimony and child support in the 5 figures a month.
And she's asking for more money.
Yeah, yeah. In the 5 figures a month. And then when I see my kids, they're dressed in like Walmart clothes. Not that I care. I don't care. They can wear whatever. But at least, you know, they're my pride and joy. At least dress them up nice, you know, and all that kind of stuff. So it kind of, that whole process it is such an ugly thing if there is somebody who's scorned in the relationship.
So I remember when I reached out to you, you know, of course I was asking you what, you know, how deep are you willing to go on this? But you said, I actually am going through stuff right now. I'm very transparent. Is that what you were talking about?
Absolutely. I mean, look, you know, here's one thing I need everyone to understand, and everybody who's listening to this or watching this, they need to understand, you know, just because you've made it, that doesn't mean you don't have any problems. I mean, in life, there's 3 stages of problems. You're either in one, just left one, or headed towards one. You feel me?
Yeah.
So there's no such a thing, you know what I mean? It's just different type of problems. And now I'm not worried about being foreclosed on the house. It's paid for. I don't want you to. I don't have to worry. Now I have different issues. Now I have issues like, oh, you know, people try to sue you, or wow, hey, you know, I have a sprinter. If I go to if I take a bunch of people with me in my big sprinter van, if somebody gets hurt, will I get sued? Will they come after me? These are the kind of stuff that now I have to worry about because you made it financially.
So, and I think that's so important because, you know, obviously looking at you and your life from the outside in and your social media, stuff like that, people forget that you are a human, just like everybody else, that has problems, just like everybody else, regardless of what you have, because at the end of the day, what you have doesn't matter, right? So that's why I started this, because to get that part of you and you know, other people.
Well, you got it.
Yeah, I did. I don't want to get you to cry though.
Oh man.
Just kidding, no. But you know, it's just it's so important to remember that like, even though it looks like so good on the outside, you still go through issues, but it's how you handle it. So how you deal with it and what you do with it and stuff like that. So
How many times, Kayla, have you gone through stuff and you thought, oh my God, it's the end of the world. This is the worst thing ever, and I don't know how I'm going to overcome that, and you overcame it? Plenty of times. So now, when things happen to me, I'm like, dude, I survived being bombed on. I survived Sharon, Pennsylvania. I survived all of these things that I've gone through, and so I will survive this as well. So you just have to have faith. You know, you just have to, when you know, I love this analogy, you know, when I use, you know, have you ever seen, you know, this is my favorite thing, you know, when a boxer or MMA fighter gets punched in the face, and instead of like doing it, they smile, they look at the other guy like, that's a good one, you got me.
yeah, no.
That's not how I approach life. When life punches me in the face now, instead of retreating and, oh my God, it hurts. Oh my God, why me? I just smile like, good one. You hit me before. I'm sure there's something good at the end of this, so I'm going to figure out what this is. You have to have that approach. You can't play the victim game.
And you don't know how strong you are until when you go through that. Like you will know, you just know this to you.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just so extremely important. Okay, so the third question, I'm only doing the top three from my following. Knowing you were literally broke at age 40 and just 5 years turning everything around, most people struggle with the mindset that it's too late for them. Other than the obvious, it's never too late, what's the best advice you can give for them pursuing their own dreams, regardless of their age?
So, for me, life is about having a purpose. It's about getting up and having a mission. And if you get up each morning and you just don't have a mission, and you don't have something that you're passionate about working towards, then whether you're 18, 25, 30, or 50, then life is not worth living. So for me, it was never, an age has never been an issue or thing that come to my mind, is what is my purpose? Because the purpose is what's going to wake me up. The purpose is what's going to drive me. The purpose and the mission is what's going to make me want to do things when I don't feel like doing it. You know, and as long as I get up and I have a mission and I have a purpose and I have something to look forward to, I'm going to get up whether I'm 90, whether I'm 50, whether I'm 25, or whether I'm 10. You know, and for me, the mission, I can't quit. I got children. I got Crystal I got to take care of. I got people that I feed. I got to change people's lives. There's people, employees that depend on me to perform. There's franchisees that depend on me to perform. So if I'm not performing, I'm not letting anybody else down. So my mission is just not me. It's a lot greater than just me. So until your mission got to be greater than just for you. If it was if it's because, oh, Sam, what kind of car I'm going to buy next? And I want to be able to get out. Who cares?
Something bigger than yourself. And age doesn't matter. That's just something you know.
I mean, we all know this fact. When people retire, unless they started having another purpose, they pass away short after that. We know that. It's a fact. Okay? So what happens when you retire? All of a sudden you retire and all of a sudden you don't have purpose. You don't have nothing to look forward to. Whether it was, work or anything else, you don't have nothing to look forward to. And if you get up and you don't have nothing to look forward to, God's going to take you out. because basically you don't have any more mission on this earth. So always find something that you want to work towards. Always find something that you're passionate about, something that's going to wake you up in the morning early at 3 a.m. when it's dark outside, when it's snowing outside, when it's blizzarding outside, that you want to still get out and do shit and keep you up at night, even though you've been up since 3 o'clock in the morning and you just obsess about getting this mission done. If you don't have that in life, find it.
All right, my last two questions for you, and this is really important, as you know, as being a mother and having a 12-year-old son. What would you tell our younger generations that you may have wished you heard from your idols growing up, or what advice would you give them at this age?
The advice that I will give the younger generation is to be careful who you surround yourself with. Guard your time and have goals and work relentlessly towards them. To me, proximity is everything. When I go to a room and I see, young kids that are in a seminar that are trying to learn, trying to better themselves, these young entrepreneurs, it makes my heart happy. I was talking in the same event. You talked on Friday. I think we were different days. I didn't see you there, but when I looked at these guys and these ladies, I'm like, first of all, I want to congratulate you. You were so young. You were out here trying to better yourself. I didn't even get my shit together till I was in my early 30s. I was out bodybuilding, I went to school, I got graduated, I did that, but I started a business and instead of like starting a business and just going all in and learning business and all that kind of stuff, I didn't do that till 5 or 6 years later. So a period of 5 or 6 years that I was just surrounding myself with the wrong people. I was going out partying, drinking, and going out to Vegas and doing all kinds of stuff. If I was your son's age and I had him hang around with people like me, I wouldn't be a millionaire. I would have been a billionaire. So when I see younger kids around, these powerhouses with these things, their mindsets, I'm going like, how can this guy not be? I was around pimps, drug dealers, and prostitutes. Up until I was like 18, because my uncle's store. Then after that, I went to Penn State. I just went to school. I really didn't hang around with anybody. I got out of school. I started making some money. I started my business. And I started like, oh, cool. Now that I didn't party all this time, let me go party and this and that. So I was like 32. That's when I first got my first mentor. My first mentor came at 32. Can you believe that? And I'm here now. So the younger generation, if you're watching this, man, don't surround yourself with knuckleheads. Surround yourself with people that you aspire to be. Write your goals. Pursue them relentlessly.
And also, I'm going to add something into that. It's getting that exposure to that world. Because you get so comfortable in the only world that you know. And so when you don't surround yourself with people like that are where you want to be, how do you know how it looks like or feels like or smells like?
Absolutely. I'm tell you right now. I'll tell you a prime example, even at my level. Everybody always asks me, Sam, are you ever going to get a jet? Are you going to get a private jet? And my mind rejects it. Just like my mind rejected when I first thought I would become a millionaire, right? My mind was like, I don't know how I'm going to become that. It's like so far ahead that I'm like, oh my God, how's that possible? So a jet for me was always like, I don't know if that's ever possible for me, this and that, right? So then I got a call from Ed Milet, and Ed was like, hey man, I'm going to St. Louis, why don't you come and on my jet and go? And I'm like, all right, cool. I actually waited 30 minutes before I replied to him, because I didn't want to sound so eager. I even told him that.
You gotta wait.
What I mean? I was at Costco with Crystal. I'm like, God, Crystal, look, I'm not gonna reply to him right now. I'll wait. You know what I mean? You know, so I even told Ed, he was laughing, you know, but someone sat down in the jet with Ed, and you know, he's talking to me. He goes, Sam, why don't you get a jet? I'm like, Ed, I'm not there, you know. And then he told me how he got his first jet, and how he got his second jet, how he got his third jet, and then when he broke it down, I'm like, that's possible. But have I not been sitting with him for an hour? I would have never thought that was possible for me. So you don't know what's possible until you hang around with those big fishes, and they can tell you that they're not the outlier. They just figured it out. They have something. They have a special piece of knowledge that you don't have. Yeah, he's cool.
I will interview him one day.
Yeah, he's come here on the 7th. Yeah.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Can I just hang out? Alrighty, so my last question, final question. What legacy do you want to leave here when it is your time?
You know, I want to be able to have my great grandchildren know who I was and what I've done for them and what I've done for the world. And my mission is to try to just educate as many people as possible, you know, against obesity, teach them weight loss, and teach them how to be able to develop their body. I'm so passionate about that because that's what changed for me. You know, coming to America and having a zero self-esteem and getting bullied and ridiculed, weightlifting changed my life. You know, and when I see people that come to our programs and next thing you know, they're like, Sam, oh my God, like I've never was taking pictures before. I never went to picnics. I never went shopping, you know, because I just didn't feel good about myself. And now they're selfie queens and selfie kings, and they're feeling good about themselves. They're going shopping, and you know, their relationship gets better. You know, I have so many people who come through our programs that couldn't conceive to have kids, and they became healthier and they have kids. You know, that's the kind of stuff that I live for. You know, and my other new passion now is that now that I've helped so many people, now these people want to do what I do. Now they want to change other people's lives. So now they're opening up camps and becoming our franchisees. And now I get, you know, text messages, Sam, oh my God, like I never thought I could ever afford this purse. And now, you know, I was able to do it. Sam, I've never taken a vacation, but thank you to you and all your coaching and your program. You know, now I'm able to go on this kind of vacation. Or Sam, you know, it was 4 of us in a 1-bedroom apartment. Now all of us have our own room. So through fitness and through teaching them to live the American dream like I have, that's my new passion. That's a legacy that I want to live. There's nothing more fulfilling when you change someone's life. There's nothing more fulfilling than that.
100%.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sam. I appreciate your time so very much. Thank you. Thank you.
It's an honor. Thank you so much, Kayla.